Welcome. Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome. Emma and I, the beautiful and amazing Emma Ferris, that I run, or we run, our women's retreats together with, thought we'd jump on a little video for you guys today, just to, if you're watching the retreat, we've got a lot of interest. It does always sell out. But just to introduce us a little bit more and tell you guys a little bit more about ourselves. So we're going to ask each other some questions just to give a framework so you guys can get more of an understanding about who we are, what it is that we offer, a little bit more insight into the retreat. So, can you tell us what brought you to this point where you are now offering as one of your offerings in the world that you're now offering women's retreats? Like, what's your background? How did you get here?
How did I get here? Well, it feels like the most random road to get to this point, but my background is a physiotherapist, and I love doing that. Been trained for the last 15 years plus years now. And while I still have a little physio practice and work one-on-one with patients and then groups and workshops, there was this need to go deeper, as I realized in the last few years with working with you, to work in a longer process. So that's kind of where this learning for me came about, going, it's not enough just to kind of do this small little wee information education to patients, which I love doing. But I realized that a lot of the times I was dealing with a bigger issue and I couldn't quite get to it in that small time frame. And a lot of it came down to stress and how we managed it. And my physio background is great and I love what I do, but we weren't really trained in the ways to help manage that, and not realizing the impact that it had on the mind, body, and emotions. So for me, it came back to learning about the way that we breathe. And so I've been on this journey of understanding breath control, how it impacts so many aspects of our health and wellness. And that's one of the big components that I bring into the retreats. But really how we got to doing the retreats was actually to do with a woman, Debbie, that connected us. And for those that may know us, Sasha and I actually lived very much on the same street. Twice she moved away and then came back on the other side of the street. And we still hadn't really connected. And in some ways, this woman, a beautiful woman, forced us to kind of work together to make these retreats. And over in the States, it was our first one. And it was a huge learning curve for me because I hadn't actually been on a retreat, let alone a women's retreat only. I've done leadership workshops and other stuff, but this was a whole different experience. And from that point onwards, I realized that this is an essential part of life. If we can make more women have these experiences, and eventually men, then we're going to change this consciousness and help many by that ripple effect out. So yeah, so I'm physio is where I'm at, but I also train as a Pilates instructor and acupuncturist. So a lot of these other tools that I have, I bring into the retreat experience. How do people understand, what you can do and take control over, which is pretty important.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Sasha Hope? What about how have you got to be a retreat leader along this journey?
Yeah. Well, my background is I'm a yoga teacher. And I've been teaching now for 18 years. So I've been teaching for a number of years in yoga and well-being, and have a deep passion for that the connection piece, and that connection to our bodies through yoga, to one another, and then to the whole, to the global collective as well. So I guess what brought me to retreats, a journey, right? We start off on our path ourselves, been teaching for a number of years. Women's work was something I became interested. I'm a mother of 3 children. And women's work was something that came into my awareness when I was pregnant with our second daughter, Sahara. So she's 15 now. And a teacher came into my world that really helped me understand our femininity a lot more, and what it really means to be, not what it really means to be a woman, but to understand that process of how powerful it is bringing women together and in the same space, and how that, now I know through you, that relaxes our nervous system and that whole team member friend, and why it's healing for us. And then being in my own women's groups and women's circles, knowing how much that nourished me, and having feeling like I've got that network of support around me all the time, which is, useful as women and as mothers and wives and partners and all these different roles that we play. So my background, yoga, I also do belief coaching, and I also lead ecstatic dance as well. Movement is one of my passions. But bringing, and women's work, and that's why we've created this container of women's retreat that, yes, we are expanding out to men down the track as well, but that power of women gathering and the magic that is created when they come together and learn how to breathe, how to move their bodies, how to be vulnerable, how to connect. That's what brought me to being, and as you said, the story of Debbie that brought us particularly together, the yin and the yang, as we say,
We do complement each other quite well because of that, sometimes it's a good mix of people that come on retreat. They want more of the going for a breathing workshop, and they realize they're actually getting a little bit more than that, a little bit deeper we can go.
Right. That beautiful balance that I think we have of that science and that deeper peak underneath the surface that we bring together, that weaves together so beautifully that people comment on, for sure.
So what's your role on the retreats, Sash? What do you see it as? Good for us, it's because we kind of forget.
Right. I mean, what is my role that I see on the retreat? I mean, obviously, I teach the yoga, and that's a question, right, that we often get from people that come to the retreat. A big question is, I've never done yoga before, I'm a beginner. So I guess this is an opportunity to say, if you're looking at the retreat, you don't have to have done a lot of yoga, and often on our retreats there's women at many, many different levels, from beginners to women that have done quite a lot of yoga, and I'm more than comfortable in, teaching.
Yes, amazing.
So,
and people with injuries as well, so I was just going to say, there are people that have different conditions that we can work around, so you don't have to be. Half of the reasons why people get to these retreats is their body's really a bit broken down and they're needing that nourishment, and so it's been able to support that along that journey and finding ways that you can move comfortably.
Yes, very much. Different levels, different injuries, it's all welcome at our retreats, and Emma and I are both skilled and experienced at working with that. So I teach the yoga, and you'll do a daily movement class in the morning, and in the evening I teach the restorative and some mindfulness techniques as well. And I think, as I touched on earlier, I guess I see my role, other than being the yoga teacher, that person who encourages people to really connect to their hearts, like what really matters to them, what really matters to their hearts. As a woman, often we're so busy in our daily lives that we don't stop and pause and really what's really important, what are my values, what do I really care about, what has my heart been telling me that I'm ignoring and that I'm pushing down so that I can just do more. So I guess I also see my role in that as well, that connection to that deeper level, to your heart, to one another, and as I touched on, and then to the greater whole, how that then impacts out into the world. Like, we have a lot of women say that the way that they then go out and show up in relationship and partnership and to their children is quite different. So I guess that's what I see my role as. What about you?
Well, I think you nailed it there with the heart piece for you. That is definitely where I see your role being a huge component of it. And a big part of it for me is the body piece. Doesn't mean that you don't ignore that, the emotional connection, but working through how the body's stored trauma in many ways, or how the body is taken over and been hijacked for a long time. So it's learning to connect within again, to actually sense your body, to actually know what your body's doing and unravel the layers that have occurred because of that, whether it's learning to move muscles in the right way, whether it's learning to breathe so that your body knows that it's safe and that it can let go, so that whatever's been causing it to stay tense or tight or on that go mode, as we often are as mothers and women. I'm a mother of two as well. I always forget to say that. I kind of realised that. I was like, and I'm mum. Oops. Yeah, so my role was definitely about connecting people as well. And I think both of us are about stopping, pausing, and listening and hearing people's stories. And that's actually one of the most magical parts of the retreat for me, is actually hearing women open up. And that's why I think I'll continue to do these retreats, because those conversations are what grow my they fill my cup up, they make me feel great, but I also realize that that's actually what helps me learn as well. And that's for my forever journey, is to learn from these experiences.
Yeah. And there's something so deeply healing. I think there's a quote that I've read somewhere, just, the power, the healing power of just listening and to somebody, like just deeply listening to them without fix them, without trying to change them, just listening to their story. And when we can hold space for one another and do that, it's such a deep, rich,
So powerful.
so powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you hope guests are going to leave with, Sasha, when they come on retreat? What do you want them to feel like afterwards?
That they then decide to practice yoga 7 times a week. No.
And the reality is.
And the reality is. And definitely, right, people like get inspired and I want to do more of this in my life. But then we get out into our daily life, right? Although, we've heard a lot of feedback from people, from women, that it really does change their life. But we do a whole goal setting session, right, of like what's realistic and where are we moving towards. And so I guess my hope and my intention for students leaving, women leaving the retreat, is that they leave with a deeper connection to themselves, to really learn to listen to that gut and that heart and help them navigate through life from that place. So, although we may have this goal, say for example, all right, I'm going to commit to doing yoga 3 times a week, which is much more realistic. Great. That's kind of that masculine piece of that structure and that goal setting. But then as a woman, like, what is my gut and my heart? How is my body, as you said, like, how is my body feeling today? And like, yes, most weeks we might show up and do that, but occasionally, depending on where we are in our cycle, what we've been going on, learning to connect within, listen within, and be gentle with ourselves. So I guess that's what my intention is, that they have a deeper understanding how to connect and how to listen to their body, and use this body as a compass to navigate their way through life. Like, I think that's the biggest truth. Our bodies are our bodies, and the way that they hold or release or how they feel about something is one of our biggest truths.
Yes. But I think part of that for me is that we're not taught these skills along the way of how to actually let that go. And so my goal would be that these women and men eventually leave having better ways of managing stress. And that is about stopping and pausing and tuning into themselves. And so it's kind of like, I almost want to be in their head a few times a day. I have people say they wake up and think of me. I know it sounds really dodgy, but they think of me to go back to sleep and breathe better. And that's really awesome. It's like, okay, so I know that the impact is that more often than not, they will have more conscious moments that will bring their body back into a calmer state. Whether it's finding out they need to work on their muscle relaxation, or the way that they breathe, or their tension, or stretch the muscles, whatever the tools are that they found works for them, because it's not a one size fits all model. You've actually got to figure out how you're going to work, what's going to be right for you within your life and your bigger scheme of things. Yeah. So my goal is that people leave calmer, and they go away just feeling a lot more in themselves, which is when you can have those gut reactions, you can listen to them.
Yeah, right. It's almost like, as I'm listening to you and it's always so beautiful when we connect, because we always learn so much off one another. And like, listening to this as we listen to each other speak, it's like that, creating the container for people to learn how to pause and how to slow down, so then they can connect into their, to their listening into their inner body.
Yeah. Which is my forever work. Like,
we're going to take you through, guys.
Yeah. And you do the work you need. So like for me, I talk fast, move fast. My nickname was Fast Fizz at physio school. So yeah, I know, someone else called, or Pocket Rocket was the other one. So I have had to do this work myself to learn to calm myself down, because I love to embrace life, but my body and nervous system can't cope with it. So it's definitely about our own journeys, which we share along the retreats. And then that listening to the gut, all those things are so important that I need to do. And so when I get to share with other women, it's like, this is my reminder that I've, this is actually what's most important. It's not the doing, it's the being.
Yeah, totally. Not the doing, the being. I love that. I love that. And certainly part of my journey from my upbringing and my life has been learning how to love myself more and to find my worthiness and find I'm enoughness. So, and that comes from that piece of really learning to connect into this. And then from there, it's like, wow, how can I not learn to love myself?
Exactly.
It's amazing how many of us as women don't really, and how much judgment we have on ourselves and our bodies and how we measure up, and God, it just creates all this noise up here, right?
So much noise.
Yeah. And so I think that's, the beauty of coming on a women's retreat is you're with other women that are there to do the same, to slow down.
Yeah.
And to,
of all different ages and stages too, of like the life journey. And that's the bit that I really love, is as much as we get to connect with women, other women are connecting, and those relationships and conversations are often the most magical, I find.
Yeah. Those moments, right? Like when we're really present and really listening, and how magical they become, and how much when we fully pay our attention and presence, how much those, really imprint into us and fill us,
It's really hard to take that time out, isn't it, though, to get away and actually go, I'm going to actually choose to do this for me. I'm going to go take that time away. So, like, I appreciate the women that come away and make that, because it's not always easy.
And we have that story, right? Like that, it's it feels like quite a selfish act for women, and it's like an act of self-love and self-worthiness. But we find that really hard to kind of take and put our own well-being, right, above, like, we've got to leave our kids and organize them and our husbands, and we've, taking this time out for ourselves. It's like, just to get there, right? It's a big step, and we really appreciate that. Yeah.
So, Sasha, what is your bigger why in the world?
Yeah.
Why do you do it?
Yeah. I think, and I know you've heard me say this before, so one of my biggest whys in the world, there's a quote by the Dalai Lama that says, it'll be Western women that will change the world. And when I first heard that, I thought, wow, that's profound, and how? And how? So how do we do that? And what I realized, what I believe he meant by that quote is, Western women, we as Western women have the most freedom, we have the most education, we have the most money to create change, so it's like, but what kind of change do we want to make in the world? And we can see out there that things, we can all see clearly that things need to change. Like, we need to slow down, we need to connect closer to nature, we need to live more sustainable lives. And that's not just sustainable as far as plastic and what you consume, but with your own energy as well, because it's a reflection of like how we treat our own being, and this busyness and this more and more, of course, that's created out in the world. So we as Western women, the more that we learn to slow down and to connect within and be more sustainable in our health and our energy, and connect to our heart and what our values really are, the more that we can then come from this calm, centered place to then act out in the world. So yeah, that's my bigger why, that we're going to change the world as Western women. What about for you, darling? Yeah, just a small bit. No pressure though. No pressure when you come to retreat.
Yeah, no pressure at all. My why has very much been the last few years. Actually, when I was about 26, I had this work with an amazing woman, Sue, in Queenstown, and it came up then with the visioning that I was going to be a global leader in health and wellness. And I don't say that very lightly, because I kind of go, back then I was like, I'm not ready for it. And now I am. And so my bigger why is that I'm going to be a catalyst for change, helping people find calm in whatever way that is. So it's learning to change that nervous system, to change the body, to change the mind, to soften the heart. Whatever way it is, it's going to be a catalyst for change.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think, like, you even being able to say that so clearly and so readily is a real indication of how much you've worked on your self-worth to be able to say, I am going to do that and I'm worthy of creating that in the world, right?
My little wee piece of that is it doesn't need to be done today. It can be done little bit by bit, because I'm still living at the end of a road with 2 children I'm raising and balancing being single mum and everything, because I have that vision of doing the ripple effect out, but it may not be today. It's just going to be one person at a time. So I'm okay with how that vision looks as it grows.
Yeah, that bit by bit, right? That
Yeah,
one
letting it.
small changes. Yeah, like never doubt that, a small group of people can create large change bit by bit. One seed planted at a time creates a whole garden.